Recording.
It is another amazing day to repeat.
That's right. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Gail Zintek. Great Thursday to you.
Great Thursday. Welcome to a party at the summit. All of you who are out there watching live or perhaps on the replay.
Welcome to the replay, or if you're just listening, we appreciate you being here and thank you for your time and attention just to share some of your energy and thought-provoking processes that go and happen through your mind. So let's get right into it, Gail. We honestly, we don't spend much time prepping for this. We just go with what, we feel intuitively in speaking about. And we just know that going over last week's conversation about E.C.H.O, which is an acronym that has served us really well. And when you think of E.C.H.O, you think of, hey, what you put out in the world is what you get back. What you sow, you reap. And the first, we'll say, ingredient to that recipe in E.C.H.O is environment. And to repeat, if you missed last week's episode, go back and watch the replay and go back. It's 22 minutes. We keep this very intentional so that we can stay aligned and guided and give you just short, small little tidbits in your week so that you can reflect and take some action in what's important to you in your life. And so E.C.H.O, the acronym, E is for environment, the C is going to be for commitment, the H is for habit, which ultimately O is you taking ownership to what you truly desire and want out of this one precious life.
So also, just as you were talking about watching the replay, subscribe to the YouTube channel, A Party at the Podcast. So you'll find it all in one place and you don't have to scroll through the news feeds to go, where was that video on E.C.H.O? So we'll put the link here to the YouTube channel where A Party at the Podcast is supported, and we just encourage you to subscribe. And Steve, you said C is for commitment. And in my mind, I had consistency.
Oh, consistency consistency is really where it lives. I've been thinking a lot about commitment this morning, so there might be some cross contamination, but it really is part of the equation, right?
That's right. When we think of the transformation equation, the C squared, commitment and consistency are they just kind of fit together. We group them together, but I had to pause and say, am I off on that a little bit? So yes, we're talking about environment today, and environment, I wrote down a question when I was thinking about this, and you asked me to write this question down and answer it for myself many months ago. And it's like, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? What do you want in life? What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? And find the people who are living that life, lock arms with them and go to run. That's the environment. That's how, and you talk a lot in transformation method about the internal thermostat of who we are and how we get to where we're going. And that's our environment. And do we want to be at 70 degrees or do we want to be at 110? So when you're looking at your life in the physical realm, when you look at the scale, when you look in the mirror, when you look at your bank account, when you look at and listen to the conversations that you're having, that's the environment that you're living in currently. And what do you want? Do you want it to change? Do you like it where it is? And Steve, you're going to go through an environment exercise with us this morning that I think will be really valuable for people who are listening. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, before I go there, gosh, you bring up such a valuable point, and the power of the questions that we ask ourselves and the quality. And it's so surprising and shocking to me with all the people that I talk to and the people that proclaim they want the greatest fitness and the health, and they want this quality of life that they see maybe other people living, not from a comparison standpoint, but just saying, what, I know it's possible because I see other people living it. And I'm just shocked how unclear people are with what they want. And the lack of specificity, and I'm talking directly to whoever's listening, really, because if you think about it, in theory, analytically, everything makes sense, like what we discuss. And then people say, well, what's the reason it's so challenging for me to obtain what essentially is simple to obtain. It's because you're lacking specificity to what you actually want. So we make it complex, and complexity is the enemy of execution. So if we have this this lack of vision and this lack of clarity, there's this confusion within us, that does not give us enough support or evidence to actually execute what we know we need to do. So that's the first thing. And how does this tie into environment? It has everything to do with environment, because when you're in the environment, when you choose an environment that has the people that are living in that vision that you have, it makes that process so much smoother, because success leaves clues. You're standing on the shoulders of giants saying, hey, they've been there, or they're doing it. They're in the process of, and I think you use the words locking arms. Yeah, you just lock arms and you go. It's like this analogy. If I gave you every single piece to a jigsaw puzzle, every single piece I gave you, let's say it's 1,000-piece puzzle, and you're missing nothing. Like, you have all the pieces in front of you. You have them like in a box, or I just hand them to you, except you don't have the cover for the box, right? You don't have the picture of what the end result's supposed to look like. The answer is that you'll never be able to create that puzzle. Like, how do you ever anticipate putting these pieces of the puzzle together that you already have if you don't know what the cover looks like? So think about that. What does the cover of your box look like when it comes to the optimal? Not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. I really prevent from using that word. I want to say, like, there's exceptional, but not perfect. And sometimes we have to look at other people's covers and what their puzzle cover box looks like. Be like, you know what? I want more of that. And I can envision myself in there. And that's the environment. So great way of putting that, Gail. And that's my thought. That's my insight and how I see that working.
I love that analogy. Like, when you said the jigsaw puzzle, the 1,000-piece, we have a puzzle here now, and I have the box cover, and we spent hours putting this eagle puzzle together, and like, some of the pieces were interchanging, like it could be used here and it could be used over there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no border. That's another thing. There was no frame. It was a free flowing frame. So putting that puzzle together was frustrating and incomplete. Maybe I'll get back to it one day, because I've seen other people put it together. We sent it to my brother-in-law, Chuck, because he was willing for the competition, because he said he can put any puzzle together, and he did it. So I know it can be done. I know it can be done, but it's the intention and the energy that we choose to put into something. And I'm thinking about that even in transformation. It's the energy we choose to put into something, whether we say, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it till it's done, or I'm just like, oh, that's a little too hard for me right now.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And that can kind of tie into environment too, because it's the people around you who are supporting you, that are encouraging you at times, or maybe discouraging you, depending on what your environment looks like.
And hold that thought, because I want to speak on that, because that's one of the questions that I get asked most frequently, is what happens when people aren't supportive of the transformation or the journey or the process that you're experiencing. But in the meantime, think about that. Think about that question. How could you put the puzzle together if you don't have the cover to the puzzle? And the answer is, you really can't. Or it'll take you much longer, a lot more frustration, a lot more energy, a lot more effort. But think about that. What does the cover of your puzzle look like in the quality of the life that you choose to create? So let's go over an environment exercise. This is something that I really enjoy going over. It's real simple. And if you're watching this visually, grab yourself just a simple plain sheet of paper if you can, if you're listening to this audibly, then just grab a plain sheet of paper, and I would like you to draw 2 equivalent lines that run down the center of the paper. So you're essentially creating, if you can see this, 3 separate columns equal on the sheet of paper. And if you're listening to this, then you can probably visually, hopefully see it in front of you. And then in the first column, just want you to draw 1. And I want you to write down outcome goals. Objective goals, outcome goals in that first column. So write down the top 5 goals that you have for the optimal quality of life that you want to live. And it could be its objective outcome, it's going to be desired outcome, it's going to be a result that you choose to have, and just the top 5. And be creative, don't hold back, don't play small. What are the top 5 things that you want to have more of, be more of in your life? What is that outcome goal? Could be financially, could be health, could be relationship, could be wellness. And then in the far column to the right, I want you to write down the number 2. That's gonna be our second column. Write down values and standards. So in the second column, values and standards right here, write down the top 5 values and or standards that you hold to be true about yourself, that you live in. What are the characteristics that represent and best describe who you are? All right. And then for sake of time, let's just keep moving on. The third column right in the middle, that's gonna be our final column. Write down the top 5 people that you spend the most time with. Doesn't have to be in like physical proximity. It could be, who do you speak with most on the phone? Who do you have the most Zoom interactions with? Who do you think about the most? Like, who occupies the most amount of relational space in your life? Now, once you have this down, you can certainly go back and replay this again and write down the format again, this little recipe. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at those 3 columns and I want you to compare the list. Real simple. Compare the list. Do the people, the top 5 people that you spend the most time with or occupy the greatest space in your mind or physicality, do they and are they congruent with your top 5 goals in your life? Do they meet the same, if not very similar, standards and values that you hold to be true about yourself? If not, then it's these individuals, it's these people, it's the people that occupy your space that may just be holding you back by these associations. So then you think, all right, well, usually this is a big aha for many. They're like, whoa, there's people that I spend the most time with under the same roof as I live under that certainly don't understand or, have the same goals I do or the same values. And then we'll talk about that. I think it's important to understand that, it's not about ridding people in our life. It's about really expanding our associations. And so take a deep look at that list, because the truth is this: you can't expect, let's just look at like the dichotomy of negative and positive. You can't expect to have a positive, optimistic life if the majority of your time is being spent with negative, pessimistic people that do not align with the same values, the same goals that you have. So you can take as much introspection, reflection on this as you want. That's what it's there for. There's no right or wrong. It's just, who are you spending the most time with? And eventually, here's what you're going to come to find out. Eventually, you're going to start attracting the right people, and you're going to retract those that don't align. And that's okay, depending on how much time you're willing to give it and how much patience you have. So Gail, what has that exercise done for you when I mean, it's been several times you've done that, but I feel like every time we get a little bit deeper and deeper and we can peel back more of those layers. And it's just such a simple way to start being like, all right, where does my energy need to go?
Well, my goals, my values, and my people do line up. And they have throughout this whole thing. And I think, having started this through this exercise in the pandemic when we were really kind of secluded and spending time alone. I mentioned this last week that I spent a lot of time with myself in reflection, and my husband, and with you, and with my daughter, and I have my friend Wendy down there. And so when I look at the 5 people that I spent the most time with, and then I look at my top 5 values, which, I'll share you with the audience. With mine are kindness and love, commitment, consistency, achievement, wealth, and abundance. So the 5 people that are on my list all line up with those values in my life, as well as my outcome goals of, taking my grandchildren on trips, weightlessness, finding out what that is, and traveling in flow during the winters, which at the time I first wrote this down, I didn't even really have flow, right? So that's been one that's I've added in, and inspiring possibilities. And then I have an annual income goal that I have in my top outcome goals for life. So so having done this exercise allows me to appreciate and have gratitude for the people that are in my environment that are helping me to become the person I desire to be. But then I've also like you talked about, expanding your associations and attracting. I think that when we become who we are meant to be, and we stand in who we are, we attract people to us. But on the other hand, we repel people from us. So in this environment, and you mentioned positive and negative, there are positive and negative effects of creating the environment you want, because you're going to have people move away from you, but you're also going to have more people. The people that are matching your energy and who you're being, they are attracted into you. So it's a win-win, honestly. And Steve, you've told us many, many times that a lot of times it's the people that pull away from you. It's not that they don't like you. It's just that they're afraid of losing the person that they thought that they had.
Yeah. How many times we made a conscious, I'll use the word change because I think most people can resonate with that, but evolution or transformation, like you're making conscious choices to become a better version of yourself. And as soon as that becomes evident for our friends, sometimes our family, they start giving us resistance. They start like leaning to cutting us down. You're like, oh, there goes Gail again, eating that salad. Like, I'm not inviting Gail to Buffalo Wild Wings anymore because she doesn't drink beer. It's like, well, we get that all the time. And the people that I've worked with, those that are like true transformers, they get it all the time. And it's not because they're trying to be malicious in the process, which it might come across. It's all how you interpret it. But it's because, to your point, that it's shining such a big spotlight on what they're not willing to take responsibility to in their own life, that they feel the natural course is be like, all right, well, I'm going to start cutting this person down or saying things that are going to be potentially harmful or hurtful, and try to bring them back down to what their reality is, because that's the person that I know and I liked and I appreciated. And and they're afraid to lose that fun person. But the truth is, you're still a fun person. You've just chosen different values. You've chosen and have different, bigger, more audacious goals that you're living in your presence. And we have a coach that is near and dear to us, Coach Peter E.C.H.O. And this is where I first heard this, and I've heard it several times elsewhere, but I give Peter the credit on it. But he says, be tough on your standards, not on your people. Be tough on you, on what you expect from yourself, not from what others are trying to convey or objectify onto you. So that really, like, as part of the whole question, like the most common question that I get, or one of the most questions when it comes to environment is, all right, so what do I do? How does it work when some of the closest people that are in my environment, my proximity, my circle of influence or people, they don't support the transformation? And if I were just to give a plain and simple response, it is that we don't cut off those people. We simply edit those relationships and we expand our associations, and we find the people, or we attract the people that are doing the things or being the way that we know we need to be.
It reminds
And that's
me
what makes our environment so impactful.
It reminds me of the book, The Energy Bus. And Coach Peter also talks about, the people on your bus. And, imagine that you have a bus, you're the driver, and you open the door and people walk into your bus, and, you got the rowdies in the back, you've got the people up front, that you've got a whole bunch of different personalities on this bus of yours. And you start to realize, because you're on this journey and the doors are closed, you realize what kind of environment, what energy you choose to want to have on your bus. And so there might be times that you pull up to the bus stop and you open the door, and sometimes you don't even have to ask people to get off, but there might be times when you choose to who you let on your bus at the next bus stop because of who you're becoming. And when you change or evolve or you transform, and you're with the people that have that higher temperature. Like I wanted to be more physically fit. So, Steve showed up in you showed up. I took notice. I want to be more fit. I'm going to listen to Steve. And you've become a great influence in my life. And yes, my habits, my behaviors, my beliefs about a lot of things have changed over the course of the last year and a half because of the relationships that I have with you and with many of the other promise keepers that are in our community. And it's been a great thing. And I encourage people to look inside and ask yourself, what do you want? What do you want out of this one precious life that we have? Because it's not like we get to go around another time, right, Steve?
That's it. This isn't a rehearsal life for something else. I mean, some people, I believe that to a certain degree, but while we have this one opportunity, this is like, we have to stop acting like we live life twice. That's it. Again, it comes down to that. What is it that you exactly want? And who do you need to become to obtain that? But oftentimes, that who you need to become needs to be surrounded by who are the people that are going to not just support me, but are going to provide the evidence that you're in the right direction. So those are great questions that we can leave you with today. And there's certainly much we can discuss about environment, but go out and discover your own self. Go look at the environment that you're in right now. Stop beating your head over on the wall and feel like, why am I not obtaining? Why can't I get where I want to go? Oftentimes, it's the support system or lack of that we've chosen to surround ourselves with, or we're afraid to remove ourselves from, that is preventing us from living the quality of life that we've always known that we want to live. So next week, I know I plan on coming to the table with discussing we'll go with consistency. The value of consistency. I'll take my mind to where it needs to go in our E.C.H.O analogy, or acronym rather. And we'll talk about the power and value of consistency, and really how we're just one choice away of doing something repetitively that's going to unlock our overall life.
I can't
So.
wait. Is it next Thursday yet, Steve?
Nice. Let's go into the DeLorean. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. All right. Well, thank you.
All right, Gail. Well, I appreciate you, Gail, and I appreciate those that are here with us today. And any questions you have on that, please, like, my door is open. I know Gail's is. We want to honor you with getting resolution to whatever you're being challenged with in life, and for you to live the best quality of life you can. At the summit, party at the summit, because the air is fresh and clean up here.
That's right. And we're heading on the pathway up. We don't peak. We just find the next path. Party on that. We'll party on that path too. So until next week, you ready to take on today?
Ready to go.
Say let's go.
Let's go. Appreciate you.